Alright guys, so far we have created two routes in our application. One to departments and the other to employees. But here's the thing. If the user tries to navigate to a route that is not configured, the application throws an error. So in the URL, if I try to navigate to localhost 4200/test, you can see that there is an error in the console. Cannot match any routes, URL segment test. Obviously, this is not favorable. So a better way to handle invalid URLs is using the wildcard route. By making use of the wildcard route, we can navigate the user to a 404 page not found component if the URL doesn't match any of the configured routes. So let us first create that page not found component. I'm going to go back to Visual Studio Code, stop the process, Control C, and then I'm going to run the command ng, G for generate, C for component, page not found, -it for inline template, -is for inline styles. Now once the component is generated, I'm going to change the template to an h3 tag that says page not found. Alright, now let's add the wildcard route. In app routing module, at the very end, add another routes object. This time, the path is going to be double asterisks, and the component is going to be page not found component. Import the component and also add it to the list of routing components. So now let's save this and run our application, npm start. If we go back to the browser and navigate to localhost 4200/test, we can see the heading page not found. Now a key point to make note of here is that the wildcard route should always be the last route in the configuration. That is because the router tries to match the path from the top. If the wildcard path is at the top, it gets matched with every URL and displays the page not found component. Let us quickly take a look. I'm going to move the route to the very top. Now if we go back to the browser and I go to localhost :4200, I get page not found. I click on departments, I get page not found. I click on employees, the URL changes, but again page not found. So always make sure the routes are configured from the most specific at the top to the least specific at the bottom. Well, that is about the wildcard route. But once we configure the wildcard route, we run into another problem. If I go back to the browser and navigate to localhost :4200, you can see that the heading page not found is displayed. That is because the URL doesn't match any of the configured routes. As a result, the router falls through to the wildcard route and displays the page not found component. So our application needs a default route. Let's say we want to display the department list component by default. Here is how you configure that route. In the routes array, at the very top, I'm going to add a new object. The path is going to be an empty path, and the component is going to be the department list component. So now if we take a look at the browser, for the URL localhost :4200, we display the department list component. We are now handling the empty path scenario. But the preferred solution is to redirect this route to the existing department's route. Instead of specifying the component, we specify the path to which we should redirect to. For that, we make use of the redirect to property. I'm going to remove component and replace it with redirect to. And we are redirecting to the department's path. But again, for the redirect to word, we need to mention another property. and that is the path match property. This property basically tells the router how to match the URL segments with the configured route. There are two possible values, and let me show you how both of them work in our scenario. The first possible value is prefix. Now this basically says, hey, if the path is a prefix of the URL, redirect it to departments. Which in our case becomes, hey, if the empty path is a prefix to the URL, then redirect to departments. This obviously is not going to work for us because the empty path is a prefix to any path. Kind of how an empty string can be a prefix to any given string. Let's quickly test this out. I'm going to go back to the browser. I'm going to navigate to localhost 4200. And you can see that we have the department list displayed by default. So that is fine. But if I click on employees, I get redirected to department list. I try an invalid URL /test. And it still redirects me back to department list. We don't see the employee list component or the page not found component. Path match of prefix does not work for us. The other possible value is full. This basically says redirect only if the full URL is empty. So let's test this out. I'm going to go back to the browser. If I navigate to localhost 4200, we get redirected to department list works. So that is fine again. If I click on employees, I get the employee list component. That is also correct. If I navigate to /test, I get the page not found component. So all our routes are working as expected. Alright, so that is about the wildcard route and redirecting routes in your Angular application. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.